All right. Hello and welcome to Odd Sock Comics. This is my new comic book day haul for January 2nd, 2019. Happy New Year to everyone. Interesting to say 2019. I think that's the first time I've had to say it. Was able to get to the shop today right at opening bell, and this cover that I've got in front of you right now. This is Batgirl number 30. And this is the B cover, and it's a Middleton variant. And this is the only book I bought this week just for the cover, and you can see why. It's a great looking cover, and I can tell you, I stepped into the store and this one was shining on that back wall. It was the first thing and the easiest thing to see. It stood out from everything else that was on the shelf. So I bought this one. I've bought quite a few Middleton Batgirl covers, but this one is excellent. I've heard mixed reviews of it. It does look very much like he's got some model that he picked for Batgirl. It doesn't necessarily look like Batgirl. It doesn't look like a creation. It looks a lot more like a cosplay. But the picture is gorgeous. The art is really good. The snow is very cool. A lot of lights, a lot of darks. Works out really well. So this was the only cover purchase that I bought. Didn't read it. Like all Batgirl books, I don't really have an interest in the story, but great cover. Okay, next up, I have my favorite book of the week. So this was Heroes in Crisis number 4. Now, Heroes in Crisis has been hit or miss for me. I've been reading it since issue 1. It's Tom King, who I've been reading his Batman run for now however many, 64 issues. I do like the Batman run. We had some hang-ups around the wedding incident. I also started reading Mr. Miracle by Tom King, and I loved that series for the first maybe 6 or 7 issues, and then it started to fade off really fast. So this Heroes in Crisis, it's a typical Tom King book. It definitely emphasizes character development and relationship development, and there's a lot of action sequences put into the story in between, but it's definitely focused more on relationships and character, which I think is what Tom King is really good at. Now, the problem that I had with Mr. Miracle, I'm afraid might come into play with Heroes in Crisis, and I think that it's the same thing that kind of happened around issue 50 of Batman as well, and that's that he spends so much time developing character and relationships that he's not really good at concluding a story. So we're 4 issues in. We kind of have a reference of who the bad guy is, but really all we're not getting a progress of the story. We're just getting progress of relationships. So I'm worried about the way this one will end. We'll see if he can pull it off. I haven't yet seen any complete Tom King stories that are anything that I would really be excited about. I've heard his Vision run was very good. I haven't read that, but I probably will pick it up. But like I said, this story was great. The art inside is amazing. Some of the best art I've seen inside a book. Really, really liked that. From Booster Gold and the Blue Beetle to Lois Lane. There's some great stuff in there. Definitely worth picking up. Worth reading the story. Worth getting into the characters. And definitely my pick of the week. My number 2 for the week is Conan the Barbarian number 1. Now, this is one that I wasn't sure at all if I was going to like, but I thought I'd give it a shot. So I got into the shop early, so I was able to get a hold of the incentive variants before they sold out at my local comic shop. This one is the 1 in 25 Acuna variant. I was able to get it for just $1 or $2 over cover price because it came in with a bag and board. But I pulled open this book, read it. It is fantastic. The art's really fun inside, and the story is a lot of action. It is just nonstop, barbaric fighting and yelling and all kinds of stuff. Heads being sliced off, limbs flying around. Very, very Conan-y. I think that this one, it says on the front, parental advisory. I think almost all comic books I've seen from Marvel say, rated teen or teen plus. This one is parental advisory, which I'm thinking is mature. The DC books do say mature. This one doesn't say what that is, but This is one that I would probably not let my kids get too deep into. Definitely a violent book, but very much a fun book. All right, next up, I have The Immortal Hulk number 11. So I've been, like I said, I went back. I bought Immortal Hulk number 10 a couple weeks ago. And I went back and purchased 1 through 9 to catch up on the story because it was really, really good. And number 11 continues on with that story. Now, it hit on some really interesting philosophical and almost religious themes. I mean, this is Hulk in hell. And so it's kind of philosophizing what hell is through some of the exposition side of things, those components in between the actual story with the Hulk. But it's also got some really fun characters that show up in here. Puck shows up, who I've only seen referenced here and there. I've never seen him as an actual character. I didn't read Alpha Flight or anything like that, so I know who he is, but I've never seen him in a comic book, so it was kind of fun to see him pop up. There were a couple of really interesting components of the Hulk philosophizing about what makes people tick. And there was one interesting part where they played the race card, and I don't think the Hulk bit on that. I think that was a very interesting piece. Now, of course, things that have to do with race stand out to me. That's where my politics dips into everything that comes into play, because it's something that can really burn you out. But it was nice to see that in this book, I don't think it played out. For somebody who was trying to say that the reason that Bruce Banner gets all the protection, even though he destroys cities and everything, is because he's a white man. I think he just rolled off of that, didn't comment on it at all. Would have been easy to argue for, but that wouldn't have helped anything. So I think they took the right approach. Anyway, politics aside, good book, continuing the story. Liked pretty much everything they did with it. All right, next up, I always forget that this book is coming out. When I go into the comic shop, I typically try to get between 4 and 6 books, and I kind of have a plan going in based on what the popular books are. But The Silencer never shows up on anybody's popular books list, but it's one that I still like. I've been reading it since issue number 1, and I really like the character. I like what they're doing. Very cool character. Assassin that just wants to have a normal family life and wants to get out of the game. And Talia al Ghul will not let her go. And so there's all of this stuff going on with Leviathan and the Assassins network and everything like that. So the story's been good all the way through. This issue 12 was kind of a weak spot. Talia, I don't know how to get too deep into it without spoiling it, but I can tell you, if the action is good, the story's okay, but it doesn't really make sense. A couple of things in here. Is this like 1984, where Talia can only win if everyone submits to her eventually, even on their deathbed? Or is this something where Talia actually needs the silencer? You don't quite understand why she's so concerned about the silencer. If they present Talia as this immortal, know-it-all, can predict everything, has this grand overarching plan that no one else can even imagine. It's like, well, then, so why does she need the silencer if she's got all of that? So they've got a couple of options. If they bring that into the story in future episodes, then all is forgiven. This is a good setup. But if they don't ever address that, if they don't demonstrate why Talia needs the silencer, then this is a really weak point in the story so far. So we'll see where that goes. I will give it a few issues before I make a call on whether to continue with it or not. But it's been great up until now. I have no intention of not reading this. Okay, so those are the new comic books that I got. But I picked up one other book that came out, I think, last week. And this is Harley Quinn number 56. Now this one is going to go into my personal collection for political comic books. So this book is called Pettergate. and it's obviously a reference to Gamergate or Comicsgate, and just kind of rips on and makes fun of those two concepts. Now the problem is it completely misunderstands almost everything that has to do with Comicsgate or Gamergate. Now I wasn't involved with Gamergate at all. I'm not a gamer in any way. I haven't been able to spend enough time to play a real game for many years, so not into the Gamergate at all. But I did and do definitely relate to and identify with the Comicsgate side of things. It was diversity in comics that got me really considering collecting comic books at all. So a lot of what I buy has to do with Comicsgate. And this book is called Pettergate, and it's kind of a parody of Comicsgate, where there are these pet stores that are run by men, and the men just don't want any women selling pets, and Harley Quinn's distributing cats for some reason that makes no sense. Purely a commentary on Gamergate / Comicsgate. But they make it look stupid, like the purpose of this Pettergate is we only want men to sell cats. But that's their interpretation of what Gamergate or Comicsgate is all about. But that's obviously not. They make it seem stupid because they have an incorrect understanding of what Comicsgate is. So it's like the purest definition of a straw man. They set up this stupid definition of what it is, and then they make it look ridiculous in the comic book. But they are completely wrong about it. I've talked a little bit about that before, and I will get into it more. But I grabbed this book just because I wanted it. Now, I think the funniest thing about buying this book is this is a kind of, calling out Comicsgate, calling out the old white men who spend a lot of money on comic books, who want their heroes to look, idealized bodies and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm buying this one. I specifically picked the Frank Cho cover, where he always draws Harley, with a nice round booty. He's definitely into the thicker, curvy girls. So this is, it's almost funny to that this is the book that they're presenting as, ripping on nostalgia and people who want comic books to be what they are, and then they go and use Frank Cho, who does these booty pictures of Harley. So I find that very hilarious that he put that together. But anyway, I read this one. It's going to go in my collection. I'm going to keep a hold of it as one of the political books that demonstrates what was going on at the time. I have a special collection where all of these go, and this one definitely fits in with that collection, especially because I find it so ironic that I was able to buy it. So then, that's all I bought at the comic shop, but I got one last book, and this one I am very, very excited about. So, waiting in the mail for me when I got home was Trump's Space Force. So this was an Indiegogo book by Chuck Dixon did the story, Timothy Lim did the art. I have a bunch of other Timothy Lim books. I met him at a Comic-Con and had him sign a couple of books. I met Mark Pellegrini, who wrote some of the story as well. They're fun guys. Everything they do in here is just plain fun. I read this with my son, who's 9. He liked everything about it. I had to explain some of the jokes to him. The alien race that they're fighting off in this book is called the SIENN'. So at first I was saying it CNN, but it's obviously meant to be CNN. So CNN is the bad guy. They're the aliens have taken over all of the typical personalities, Rachel Maddow and Cenk Uygur and all of these progressives. The aliens have taken them over, and some of the quirks that they use for Trump are just absolutely hilarious. I forget which one both me and my son laughed at, but I'll have to. I wish I had written it down. There are just so many jokes and fun parts in here. When they shoot the guns, the sound that all the guns make instead of like pew pew is mega 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 mega. So it's just pure fun. It's a fun story. It's got all of the characters. Everybody from real life has been thrown into this. It's got a lot of the other Comicsgate characters mixed in there. There's, well, like the main character from Rags is in here. A whole bunch of commentators from the kind of the MAGA group are in here. It's just pure fun. My son was laughing. I was laughing. A lot of good stuff. Definitely glad I bought this one. It's signed, but I don't know. I'll have to compare that sign. I don't know if that's Mark Pellegrini or if that's Timothy Lim. I've got both of their signatures, so I'll compare it to the other ones that I've got. But you can see it's just a scribble on there. But anyway, that's my last book that I got this time. Like I said, really fun selection of books. I only bought one for the cover. There were one or two books that I picked up and considered and ended up putting back because I was trying to get out of the store without buying too many. Let's see, I've been considering picking up Detective Comics as they come towards issue 1000. They're on $9.95 right now. I picked it up, I looked at it, and it's just not in a place where I want to get into the story there. I may do it anyway just to make sure that I know what's going on when I get to 1000. Let's see, I picked up... what else did I pick up? I picked up the Infinity Wars Infinity #1. I didn't really care much for the Infinity Wars story. That seemed kind of pointless. So moving into Infinity didn't make a lot of sense either. So I put that one back down. I think that's all I really considered seriously purchasing that I ended up leaving behind. But overall, fun day. Enjoyed most of the books that I read. I'll put this nice cover of Conan here to finish off. If you didn't get this book, I would definitely recommend going and finding a copy of Conan. There should be plenty available. Like I said, my shop had probably 100 copies of Conan up on the shelf. Had a couple of copies of this one for 25, so definitely at least 50. So they're definitely expecting to sell a lot of Conan, and it's worth it. Definitely a good book to buy. So that's all I got for today. That's my new comic book haul for January 2nd. This weekend I'm going to put up my contest video, so keep an eye out for that. You are going to need to be subscribed and comment on the contest video in order to be entered, because I can't see a list of everybody who's subscribed. I've tried. I can see some people who have left that option as public, but I can't see everybody. So when I get to 10 subscribers, I will give away a book, and I plan on keeping that going because that's just one way to have fun and give back. So thanks. Like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you let me know what you got, and keep watching. Thanks.